As a parent advocate, I know that families need a lot of information in order to navigate the special education system. This series of advocacy shorts is a collaborative project between ASSA, the State Association of Private Special Ed Schools in New Jersey, and the attorneys at Hinkle, Finkles, and Pryor, who generously donated their time and expertise to help answer some of the more common questions that families have as they try to advocate for their sons or daughters in the special education system. I hope you find them helpful. What are the eligibility rules?
Well, a student, in order to be eligible for special education and related services, must fall into one of the 13 categories of disability as defined under the code, and have a disability which interferes with his or her ability to learn. It's a two-part analysis.
So what if a student's grades are good, but there are other issues?
That doesn't mean a student still isn't eligible for special ed and related services. It's not only about grades, although that can be and often is a very important factor in many circumstances. But a student can have very good grades, in fact, and have even superior grades, and still be eligible for special education supports. Some of those supports might include emotional supports, social skills training, life skills training, as well as vocational or beyond the high school type of training and transition, so that the student can succeed to the greatest extent possible as an independent adult once their educational entitlement ends.
So what kinds of testing and assessments are done in order to determine whether or not a student's eligible?
The district will often use a comprehensive set of exams and tests in order to assess whether the student either falls within one of the categories of eligibility and has a disability which interferes with learning. These will often be educational assessments, standardized IQ tests, social assessments. Classroom observations can include neurological or neuropsychological tests, and so forth. Parents need to understand that they do not have to limit themselves to only those levels of assessments or types of assessments recommended or readily available from the school districts. The parties, the parents and the school district, need to engage in a meeting to determine what assessments are going to be done and by whom they're going to be performed by. And this is an opportunity for parents to ask for additional evals or additional disciplines to be used in the assessment process.
If parents had their child evaluated already, can they bring those evaluations to the school district's attention?
They can and should. Oftentimes parents, particularly of students with, quote, hidden disabilities, often will receive diagnoses or examinations and tests from their private physicians or private therapists or other experts in the field in order to determine whether something is there's something to be concerned about, and maybe receive recommendations from other professionals. It is a good idea to share those evaluations, in my view, with the district at the time of the eligibility meeting. It can have the effect of short-circuiting the eligibility process, lengthening or shortening the period of time that it would otherwise take, and it can actually be helpful to the school district to make the ultimate determination of whether the student qualifies for and is eligible for special education-related services.
What about kids that have or might develop mental health issues, kids that may develop behavior disorders or bipolar disorder or depression? Are those kids eligible for special education?
Yes, they are. And those are often disabilities that do interfere with learning. They can often lead to school avoidance and school phobia, which districts sometimes mistakenly believe is just general truancy. But there really is often something deeper in those types of circumstances, and it's important that the student receive the level of supports that he or she needs to either continue their education while they're in other settings, or to give them the emotional supports necessary to be able to attend the school that they've been attending all along.
In a situation where a child is evaluated by the school district team and the parent doesn't agree with the outcome of those evaluations, what kind of recourse do they have if they still think their child is eligible?
Parents can often ask for independent evaluations, but ultimately, like any other special education decision that's reached, if parents disagree with the school district's conclusions, parents can always request mediation or a due process hearing with their appropriate state agency.
And can parents ever be required to pay for the evaluations and assessments?
No, they cannot. Oftentimes parents do obtain their own assessments, but it's often a good idea to request independent assessments from the districts first at district expense.